Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to make sure you know all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Don't miss out on all new episodes of Wade's World, Boob Windows and Long Boxes, our Hard R movie reviews, and so much more, all completely uncensored. Access starts for as little as $1 a month, full videos when you pledge $3 a month. Check us out at the link in all of our show notes, or just go straight to patreon.com/capesandlunatics. Hope to see you there.
Me hearties, and welcome once again to the 100th episode of Full Stream Ahead. I'm your host, Charlie the Professor Esser, and with me as always is me skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
100 episodes, Mozz.
Ooh-wee.
Yes.
Oh, wait.
And what an episode to discuss tonight. What if Thor were an only child? Thor, who never learned to be a good hero, throws an out-of-control intergalactic party on Earth. Our director this week is Brian Andrews. Our head writer is A.C. Bradley, along with story editor Matt Chauncey. Steve Gerber created Howard the Duck. What other credits we got here? A.C. Bradley, head writer. A.C. Bradley gets the written by. Matthew Chauncey's our story editor. And then Jack Kirby created Captain America, along with Joe Simon. Jim Starlin created Thanos and Drax. And Val Mayerick helped create Howard the Duck with Steve Gerber. Oh, boy. And what an episode, my friend. So.
Nice to see the Thor from Thor Ragnarok back in action.
Yeah, well, it was nice to see. It was nice to see. Actually, what was the nicest thing to see was Odin giving Loki back to his family. You know, it's weird because he just conquered them. So, but you know, just This idea that I found your child after I've conquered your lands, but here's this child back for you to raise, you know. And then he grows up. Well, we find out that later, but let's get into that. So that's the big change. And as a result of this, without Loki's constant treachery or trickery or treacherickery, Thor he's a very easygoing guy. He doesn't have a lot to worry about, doesn't have a lot to do. He's mostly a party dude.
Yeah.
He went from Leonardo to Michelangelo.
Yes. You know, it's funny. It's like once you take out the balancing force, you don't know where you're supposed to belong. So you just like try to belong to anything and everything and don't really, you know, make a choice as to define who you are. Much like in The Walking Dead in the first season, or maybe it was in the second season, when they finally killed Shane off. Shane was always like the bad guy and Rick was always the good guy. But as soon as the bad guy was eliminated, there was no bad guy for him to play off of. So he just got worse and worse and worse. He had no reason to be good, to show how different he was than Shane. So it's an interesting thing that without that balancing force there, Thor just is left to his devices and never chooses a path, so to speak.
Yeah, well, he chooses a path.
Okay, fair enough.
To party. Yes.
Well, I think that path chose him more than the other way around.
Although, to be fair, I mean, that's what's kind of interesting in this. What is actually most interesting in this is this idea that apparently the adventures of the Asgardians and the Warriors 3, plus Sif, is a lot more relaxed. You know, they're not battling frost giants all the time. That primary antagonism has been resolved. And, you know, that's an interesting aspect of this story. But I do like how this is very much set up like an 80s comedy where, you know, Dad's in Odin sleep, Thor's in charge.
No parties.
No parties. She knows her son. And that is, I think, is what is delightful about it, is that idea that she knows no parties, but they're going to go to this little backwater that even Heimdall won't be paying attention to, which is, both interesting and probably true. At this point in the story of this, there was a little kerfuffle with the Tesseract back, some 60 years ago. And aside from that, the humans haven't done much, There's one guy, he's got a robot suit he's flying around with, but it's real pedestrian stuff. So there's not a lot to worry about, but then we see that, there's a specific energy signature that Jane Foster sees. We get Jane Foster and Darcy back, which I'm so happy to have Darcy back. Although, man, it's funny because I guess she has such a cartoony voice. I wasn't certain if she was the actual Kat Dennings or if that was someone doing Kat Dennings' voice at first.
No, was that actually what's her name? Jane Foster? Was that really her?
Yeah, that was, what's her name? Natalie Portman.
That was
Kat
Natalie
Dennings.
Portman?
Oh, yeah. Because Natalie Portman still got movies to make, so she's coming back when asked nicely.
Right.
See, the people that don't have movies to make, they didn't come back.
I'm surprised she was on board with what they did to her character. Just turned her into like this unthinking bimbo.
Well, I don't think they make her an unthinking bimbo. I think they make her a very serious person who realizes this guy's not a threat and he's kind of cute. Because that's the thing. That's really the thing about it is, oh, Tristan says hi, Mozz.
Hey, what's up, Tristan?
And, that's the thing is like, they see the alien, they see what they assume is the alien invasion, and it is an alien invasion, but it's an alien invasion to party.
And the funny part is, you see so many Skrulls there, like the invasion has been here for a while.
Well, what it actually tells you is that, the Skrulls probably have been around. Although these ones, because they're in their purple suits, so they may have just showed up.
Oh, interesting.
Because, we don't know how many are, the ones that are actually infiltrating Skrulls maybe changed out of their outfits to show up, but that, in general, the ones we're seeing here are probably visiting Skrulls because, this is, although what's funny is, it's funny because obviously Captain Marvel would know what's going on with the Skrulls, but she doesn't come to the party until they call her.
Right. And also, like, there was that Elvis Skrull who was initially there when they drop, and he's human, and then we see an Elvis Skrull. I don't know if it's the same one, but if it is, that would imply that the Skrulls have been here this whole time.
So then, so I guess that I kind of missed that and all the hullabaloo.
Yeah, there was an Elvis Skrull, and and there was the Elvis in the beginning who marries Howard
Howard and Darcy. This is the Darcy. Duck. Darcy the Duck.
Right.
Which
right.
I
Darcy
love
Duck.
because no, the Duck. It's Darcy the Duck, which implies that the
interesting
on Duck World actually is like a thing you put in front of your name in the same way that you'd be like, if it would be Howard Von Duck or, or something like that, or Scrooge McDuck, or Von Drake or whatever. But on his world, it's the Duck, and it's
so they say something like that. Do they call her Mrs. the Duck?
Yeah, he calls her Mrs. the Duck. Says, hello, Mrs. the Duck, in his best Seth Green trying not to sound like Chris Griffith voice, which is hard for Seth Green sometimes, I think, because it is kind of just his voice.
Right.
And, but that's
now, do you think Darcy was drinking when she married Mr. the Duck? Or
I think everyone was drinking in this, I think. And that, which is, again, one of my favorite scenes in this is when, Thor has the martini and Scourge comes down and he's, my man, he says, go ahead, you can drink all you want and they never run out. It's magic. Yeah. Which I always say, that significantly advanced customer service is indistinguishable from magic, That's what it is. It's just, you don't know where it's coming from. It's just the booze just keeps on flowing.
Yep.
Must be magic. You never think about the work that went into it, but yet here we are. So we get the whole thing, and this is where the trouble comes because apparently there was a planet that was destroyed after this similar event, and Thor was there at that event. And they're not quite sure what's happening here, but obviously Maria Hill comes in. She's very much ready to rock because Fury gets taken out by Korg when he goes to do a ball cannon into the fountains in front of Caesar's. I don't think that was the Bellagio fountain. I think that was the Caesar's fountain. So, but that's how Fury gets taken out. And Maria Hill with Crossbones, they say, we're going to bring in the nuclear. It says we have something to take him out. And it's the beeper, which is neat because it suggests that Maria Hill did know about the beeper. But the beeper was probably a closely guarded secret of Nick Fury, but other people knew about it. But that, they waited to use it. Yes, Tristan. Yeah, he survived. He just hasn't come out of he got knocked unconscious and hasn't come to yet. So he probably broke a few ribs and that kind of thing. Because he did get hit by a guy made of rocks.
Who?
Nick Fury.
Ah.
Because he is still just a old guy.
Right.
He's still actually a pretty old guy in this job.
Very true.
He can handle himself, don't get him wrong, but when he gets blindsided by
I find it interesting that she was so willing to throw a nuke on top of Captain Marvel. Either it's because she knew she could take it, but would she not think of the consequences of the fallout from pissing off Captain Marvel? And you call her as the last resort when you have no other choices and you're just going to throw a nuke on her? How short-sighted is that?
Well, it's very short, especially since they went to Siberia. I certainly hope they got clearance for all of this from the Russians.
Right.
It's one thing to drop a nuclear bomb on your own town, but you go to Siberia and do that?
Yeah.
Siberia, believe it or not, is not uninhabited.
Right.
It's sparsely habited, but it's not uninhabited. Yeah. But I guess they probably thought, what's a little more radiation in Russia?
Fair enough.
And to be fair, Russians might go, yeah.
But next time you need Captain Marvel, she's going to be like, yeah, no, you got nukes, right? You go ahead, you deal with it. You got this. Come on.
Yeah. Well, they didn't drop a nuke on her, fortunately.
No, I know, but oh my God. It's such
it is weird that she was willing to do that. And I guess it's because, as she said, he didn't, she didn't defeat him last time. But that was because, she was pulling punches, obviously, because she unleashed her full power, But, for what it's worth, Thor is completely, he gets hit, but he gets back up, He's got a good soak on that, so.
How is he still worthy of the hammer, though? Or is it just,
because he's not a bad guy. He's just a party dude.
He's not a good guy either.
Well, we don't know he's not a good guy. He even said even the goats got back where they were eventually. We named them Gary.
I'd love to hear that story. Where was the pit stop before he got home?
Yes, well, it's just you're having it was basically Fandral and Thor go to White Castle. It was great.
Right.
That's the thing. You have to be willing to suspend some Marvel stuck-up sticky beakness with this. You got to say, that, Nebula is going to show up and she's going to party with everyone else because she's out. She's away from Dad for the day,
right.
And of course, for what it's worth, there's nothing for her dad to be interested in here. There's no Infinity Stones, really. It's just a big rager, and Thanos, I'm sure, has no time for such nonsense. And we don't see Gamora here, so obviously Gamora was still up there being the favorite daughter, and Nebula just snuck out to have some fun, and with the Grand Master,
on his scooter,
in his scoot, yeah, and for what it's worth, and again, you got to understand the Grand Master probably, which is kind of ironic because I don't know if this is. The Grand Master is usually not played so joyfully the way that Jeff Goldblum plays him, because he is usually the Grand Master, and he's always plotting his grand masterful game. But here he's the party guy, and they do take these liberties in the MCUs. They make these characters a lot more, I don't necessarily want to say relatable, but a lot more understandable within certain concepts. And for the guy like the Grandmaster, I think that, he enjoys himself because, he sets up the fights, he rigs the games, people pay their money, he always cleans up because he's the house. So, he's having fun with it. And
right, and also like Thor doesn't seem to do these very often, right? So every now and then when Thors one of these parties where they destroy an entire planet, that's an event, right? And if you go to like a party where you're not the host, man, I'm just gonna have a ball. I don't have to watch nothing. I don't have to take care of nothing. I have to make sure the hors d'oeuvres are there. I don't have to make sure. I just go to party. And that must be nice for him.
Although to be fair, I don't think the world would have been destroyed.
Right. I mean,
there was going to be property damage,
Yeah.
But they put the St. Louis Arch back.
Right.
They put the London Eye back. It's
right.
I was more worried about anyone that was on the London Eye when they did this big spinny spin.
Right. And Stonehenge.
Well, that was intentional.
Right.
Yes, and of course, I do want to give a special shout out to Tom Hiddleston as Frost Giant Loki, which is also interesting because it suggests that Loki would have grown had he been left with his family. He
might not have needed a TVA to control him after all.
Yeah. Well, in this one, apparently it's not a big violation for whatever reason.
Right. Right.
And maybe it's because that party atmosphere still prevents a Kang,
And he never had to like fight for anybody's attention. He wasn't second string. He was just him. He never had that little man complex to fight against, to have that chip on his shoulder that made him so angry at everybody and want to take over everything.
Exactly. He is the rightful ruler of Jotunheim. So what's he complaining about? He's the crown prince of Jotunheim.
Right.
Him and Thor, they're equals. They're buddies. Exactly. Yeah. He runs Asgard, I run Jotunheim, and they keep the peace between them because they are bros.
Yeah.
The power of broship. And that is awesome in its own right. But as we say, Maria Hill overreacts, and overcompensates, and has to blow. I mean, you can say getting Captain Marvel there was maybe the right move because this is an alien invasion. Even if it's a somewhat benign alien invasion, there's a lot of aliens here, and they're even partying in Pennsylvania Dutch country. Huh. So it's getting out of hand. As far as everybody just joining into this thing and it going crazy. So I can understand why people would have felt a little worried. But, again, I think that negotiation might have been more useful. But then who knows? He might not want to have the party stopped,
Right. And sometimes, like, if you're that powerful, do I need to negotiate with you? Get away from me, you silly mosquito. Right. You have to prove that you are somebody worth, okay, stop. I got to pay attention to this. And then you can have a dialogue. With some people, you can't have a dialogue with unless you earn that respect to say, oh, I am somebody you ought to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm. And that is their conundrum. But they bring in Captain Marvel, and she is someone that he does have to pay attention to. And, while they're fighting in Russia, but that, of course, is when Jane gets the idea. Classic 80 movie style. If Thor's real and Loki's real, which is also interesting because this means Loki as that the ancient myths have to be a little bit different, but they're still the ancient myths. So it's like they know about Thor, they know about Loki, they know about Heimdall, and so she knows about Frigga, which for some reason I always thought was Freya in earlier versions of this, but never mind. And so they call on something, create something to get Heimdall's attention. And I love this because they do that same line with that Loki says to Thor, says, "Oh, what dark arts did Father have to conjure to send you to Earth?" It's like, "Oh, Mother, you must have used some real dark magic to get yourself over here." Says, "Yes, is everything good?" He's like, "Yes, I'm studying in my room." Walks by. It's delightful because it is what it is, and yes, it makes no sense logistically for why it's going to take that long for Freya to get to Earth.
Right.
Even with having to stop in Asgard, because they have to do a lot of cleaning.
Yeah, and I wonder if time moves differently in their part of the universe, because she says, "Oh, see you again in 1,000 years." I wonder if that means 1,000 years, or if time moves differently there, and she got here pretty quick, but time moves differently, so that's why it took a little bit for her to get here. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they live thousands and thousands of years, so 1,000 years might be like next year for her, in her mindset. Although I think it is meant to be that no, she can only get out of the house when Odin gets an Odin sleep. He only does it once every 1,000 freaking years.
Right.
Because if she tries to leave when Odin's away, he's like, "Where are you going?
Yeah.
Why are you leaving me? Just want to get out of the house." You giant Asgardian man babies. It is a fun fact. Frigga actually is a Vanir. She's not an Asgardian, so
a what?
A Vanir. That was the other race of gods in Asgard. So it was the Asgardians, the Vanir, and then there were the Jotuns, the giants. And
okay, so he conquered the Vanirds and then took her.
Well, he marries Freya, and that unites the kingdom. It's your typical royal wedding kind of a situation.
Gotcha.
But the Vanir were always kind of the hoity-toities to the barbaric Asgardians.
I see.
That's how that goes. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, it is such a fun episode to watch because there's so many little Easter eggs and so many little things. The magic science tattoos, the rocket passed out in the sink, but no Groot, which is interesting. It's like, rocket, but no Groot. So it's
maybe they never met up, or Groot likes to party.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, Or he's somewhere else. He's like, it's in the desert. Groot might be like, you go to the desert. I'm not going to the desert. They don't have trees in the desert, Rocket. Except he says, "I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot."
Right.
Yeah. And it's like, wow, they have water there. It's like, I am Groot. Yeah. Trust me, he's not going to the desert.
Fair enough.
Got dead trees there.
Yeah, I like that version of the story better than that. And him and Groot are not friends in this universe.
No, I think they have to be friends in every universe.
Right.
Even in that Evil Squadron Supreme universe, they were still best friends. So, yeah, it's it's a lot of fun. There's no other way to describe it. It's just a really fun episode. And after all the horrific, gut-wrenching episodes we've had, this is fun, entertaining. Thor learns a valuable lesson about personal responsibility and respecting people. Because he has fallen for Ms. Jane Foster, Dr. Jane Foster.
Who told on him. How dare she?
Told him. Well, but he understands it was
right.
It was important, He understands why she did it,
He even thanks her for it, but
yeah. At least he's not grounded,
Right.
That's one thing you can say. He can still come to Earth and ask her out on a date. So, I know a planet where everything is unicorns. Which sounds great until you just think about, unicorns as an actual animal and, everything is just covered in unicorn poop. But, although there's apparently a sentient race of unicorns, because it says that the waiters are unicorns,
Right.
So it's like, it's a unicorn race, I guess. But, yeah, also I like the fact that, what makes, and this is what kind of intrigues her about Thor, is he immediately starts talking about how smart she is. You must be a genius. It's like, oh, did you make this? It says, you must be a G. Because it's like, he's so small, but so much information. And it's like, it sounds like he's going to say something insulting, but it's like, no, he earnestly says, this is a beautiful piece of technology. It would take, several craftsmen to make such a device on my world. You must be a genius. And, it's nice in that, He even makes friends with Captain Marvel at the end. She helps get everything cleaned up and gives him the the folio. Yeah. Fortunately, someone's underwear was on his hammer when he calls it back to him, which is actually kind of funny because you think he must have just set it down and just people were still partying around it and people just started throwing stuff at it. It's got the Mardi Gras beads and underwear and
either that or the hammer was still chilling on their bed and that's where it came from. So I don't know.
Yeah,
that could have been Foster's underwear. I don't know.
Well, I'm not going to say it was, but I'm not going to say it wasn't, I think what we can definitely say. Oh, by the way, another one of my so many things I love on this. It's like it's a Superman 3 callback when he fixes the Eiffel Tower. Or not he fixes the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Yes, indeed.
And it's kind of a reverse of that because of that one. Evil Superman straightens it to be a jerk, but this one is like good Thor is like, oh wait, this tower's leaning. Let me push it back. Yes, so
poor old man is gonna wreck his whole shop again.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. Oh, but yeah, but then we get to our big happily ever after until the Watcher. What? Wait, what? Yeah. I really wish he had said what the.
Yeah.
But it is just that shocking moment when he sees them coming through, and it is interesting. It is very interesting how they end this, and you are left to see the Watcher being caught off guard by this, by Ultron and his army coming through. And
it's Vision inside Ultron, right? Because Ultron was made from Vision.
Yeah, so it's like it is the Vision with Ultron, sort of an Ultron armor around him. So I've already seen the next episode, so I know what's going to happen. But that it's definitely what it's supposed to look like, and definitely what it is a well description of. It is Vision encased in Ultron's armor, and as the Ultimate Vision or the Ultra Vision or whatever they call him, and this is a superior vision to be sure, and this is him coming to take over the world or take over many worlds. We can assume. Right. What is your question, Tristan? Not all of them do. Dr. Doom was the infamous Iron Man when he was Iron Man. But that's mostly because Tony Stark had already been the superior Iron Man when he just became a jerky version of Iron Man, which was still just Tony Stark, but he just wasn't being noble. Or he was still being noble, but he was being much more reckless and much more supervillainy in that sense, and less caring about what other people felt. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. Mozz, what is your big takeaway from this episode?
The party looked like fun. There really wasn't much meat or substance to this. It was just a good time. And it was like, it almost seemed like a little break before the storm hits the fan, kind of deal.
Yeah.
So it was an enjoyable little respite from all the heavier stuff, which I think is what they're probably going to lay on us soon.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I do get the feeling that it is exactly that it is the idea of, they needed this nice palate cleanser.
Yeah.
But they also had to give us that twist at the end. They needed to say, oh yeah, this was fun. And it was nice to have a nice side episode that we don't think too much about, but don't think that that's how this story ends, And it kind of gives us this idea that, that these destroyed universes from the other realms, these have a purpose as well. These exist in this story. And of course, when you talk about the TVA, Of course, the TVA is not going to bother with a universe that gets destroyed. That's what you call a problem that solves itself. No Thanos, no problem. No King, no problem. So yeah. So
it seems like in one cliffhanger episode they left us with zombie Thanos. In this cliffhanger episode, they leave us with Vision Ultron. I wonder if they meet at the end.
Well, we'll have to see what happens at the end. I mean, that's the thing. It's open into what could be. I think that there's so much we can talk about with these alternate universes and what's really happening. And I think even that is something that is still open for debate. Even after watching the next episode, I'm still, well, wait, so what's this now and what is happening? Yeah. There's always a lot more to it than you think. And that's one of the things I love about it. And that's one of the things I love about What If in general as a series, both as a comic series, because it was always one of my favorite comic series. And my favorite thing about just the TV show is this idea about exploring this completely different view of the world that might have unfolded if things were just a little bit different. If a different choice was made and something bad happened, as it were. Anyway. So, Mozz, if people like the show or like anything and they want to talk to you about it, how can they find you?
Oh, they can reach out to me via email at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And you can always reach out to us and talk to us as soon as I find where that card is here, because I forgot to write it down again. But I remembered where it was. Is this it? Yes. You can always email the show in general and every show on the Capes and Lunatics network. And, certainly subscribe to that and listen to all the shows we have. You can reach out to us, which is actually technically Phil, because he gets that at capesandlunatics or capesandlunatics@gmail.com. You can call us and leave us a voicemail at 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And, of course, get all of our merch and other links at linktr.ee at Capes and Lunatics. So that's linktr.ee, linktree/Capes and Lunatics. And if you do all those things, I will be very happy, and that'll make me very happy. And then you can, of course, write to me in that old-fashioned email, whether we are mothers and fathers with Sid, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And, of course, follow me on the Twitter as I live tweet things when I feel like it and the channels come in and I decide to. At Charlie Esser, that's CHARLIEESSER. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing!
Thank you, Mozz. Dear friends, we have witnessed another universe unfold and face a danger that we do not yet understand its depth. Tune in next week to watch again. We will once again say, "Nuff said." All right, me hearties, for the 100th time you've come to the end of another delightful cruise. Thank you for boarding. Please be sure to come back again and sail with us. Full stream ahead. Arr.